Hello, and welcome to Caden's Corner. Today we're going to be covering episode 74 of AEW Dark. Now, before I get down to the nitty gritty, I want to discuss what this show is about. Show is about discussing wrestling culture, and it's kind of specifically pointed at AEW. We're going to be reviewing dark matches, and what I'm going to be doing is translating to you what events happened that will probably have some sort of meaning going on into Dynamite and the pay-per-view shows. Dark is a weekly show, varying in length, and sometimes you don't always have the time to watch it. And I'll be here to basically summarize the main story events that happened in a short amount of time, relatively. For match number 1, we had Jon Moxley versus John Cruz. John Cruz has a record of 0-1 this year, and I noticed they did not show Jon Moxley's score because he has taken a couple of losses, maybe only one, in his recent tag teaming efforts, but by no fault of his own has he taken a loss. In this match, it was short and dirty. Jon Moxley clawed at the back of John Cruz, and John Cruz gouged his eyes right on back. It ultimately ended with Jon Moxley getting a standing triangle hold choke on his opponent that really robbed him of his oxygen a little too fast, knowing that it takes quite a while to asphyxiate another human being. It seemed a little too resolute. It was a fun match, though. Finally got to see John Cruz put up a little bit of a fight, but ultimately was put down by the veteran of the ring. In the end, I gave this match a 7.7 just because it was short and it was sweet. The moves were competent, done at a great pace. Decent match. Good way to open the night. Going into this match, Bear Country is 2-1 this year, whereas Chaos Project, who has had a bit more time this year, has a record of 7-8. One minor low point to this match was an example of AEW's reffing being a little weak, in which the referee told Luther, the insane character, only get out of the ring. You only have 5 seconds to do a tag move or whatever the allotted time is, and doesn't really make any physical moves to try and force Luther out of the ring. It just feels lazy, and it just didn't sit well with me. The ref should know that this is a hard-to-control man. In the end, I gave this match a 7.1. It was serviceable. We saw a couple new moves, but the slow, janky pace hurt it bad for me, and it only gained 1 point above average because of that. For match number 3, we have a new team, Sage Scott and James St. Patrick versus the Butcher and the Blade. Just to start it off, yes, the Butcher and the Blade defeat these two men. It's a squash, actually. Sage Scott does nothing during the entire match, and James St. Patrick, who has been jobbing the last 2 weeks, just gets a couple working punches in on the opponent. Nothing really too impressive. I've not gotten to see this man do anything other than sell so far. In fact, this match is so regular, I don't really have too much to say about it other than the Butcher and the Blade finish in their walkout gear, and that the Butcher and the Blade give us a warning that they are coming for Bear Country. So, a little bit of something there, but not too much. For match number 4, we had Shanna versus a new person coming to the women's division, Renee Michelle. And I thought this was an interesting bout because normally most people who debut, they're just there to get squashed instantly. We don't get to see a chance of them actually doing some moves for a couple more fights. They got a job before they get further in. But Shanna got a decent fight with this woman, and the pacing was fun. It started with standing tests of strength type wrestling before it went to the mat, and ultimately before it went into the more high-flying things. Unfortunately, near the end, Shanna botched at least one move, maybe two, with an upside-down hold of Renee Michelle. She clearly lost control and had to switch the move to a power slam, which was okay. But the ending of the match did not feel as smooth as the beginning, and it was palpable. Ultimately, I'm interested in what Renee Michelle can bring. I'm interested in why she's given so much credence right away. And I gave this match a 7.2. For match number 5, we have John Silver and Alex Reynolds, the recruiters of the Dark Order, versus the team of VSK and Eric James. This was a nice filler match, pretty simple. I don't have too many things to say about it, other than it was fast, technically correct, but not too visceral, and that John Silver always brings this great energy, this circus carny energy to the show that is so fun, unique, and yet also classic at the same time. I do want to say I'm not exactly sure if this is the first time we've seen the Dark Destroyer performed by Alex Reynolds and John Silver, but this particular version looked a little too cooperative. It actually looked like the opponent was double suplexing the men who were performing the move. Other than that, this was a fun match, and I gave it a final score of 7.3. So for match number 6, we have the teams of Jurassic Express, which is Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus for this, versus Aaron Solo and Baron Black. This was a very short match. It was a hard squash, meaning that the opponents, meaning Baron Black and Aaron Solo, did not get to perform any real moves on their opponent. They were crushed in totality, demonstratively, and the only other thing that I'd say is noticeable about this match is that there was a little bit of a change in the Jurassic Express mainstay. Normally, it's Jungle Boy carrying 75% of the match, and then Luchasaurus coming in to kick everyone's ass for about 25% of the match. In this one, we got to see them kicking ass together at a very fast pace I've not seen from Luchasaurus before. This was a fun one, despite being a hard squash. I ended up giving it a 7.5. I don't know if I would still give it that at the end of the night, though. Also, can I just say, there are too many Johns. For an industry in which you can make up your own name, why are there so many Johns? For match number 7, we have Ty Conti versus Vert Vixen. This is Vert Vixen's third match. She's 0-2 at this point, and she has not gotten too much of a chance to perform moves on her opponent. And this follows suit with Ty Conti's previous matches, in which she wins, by which she just storms her opponent down, performing move after move, crushing them. However, I do think that this was the first chance we saw that Vert Vixen could perform at a higher speed level. The last two matches we've seen her in, she kind of just got squashed before she could do anything. There was a little bit more fight here, and because of that, that created a little bit more drama. And I ended up giving this match a 7.6. This was a pretty good women's match, honestly above the average set by the men tonight. I'm sorry, I meant to give that a 7.4. But still, compared to the matches prior, she has set a pretty good precedent for the women's matches tonight. For match number 8, this is where the 7.6 comes in. We get Eddie Kingston versus Aaron Solo. Aaron Solo is 0-1 this year, and Eddie Kingston I don't think has had any solo matches, so they actually don't even show a score for him, despite him having a score from last year as well. To be a little honest, I've been disappointed with Kingston's performances at the high levels where he's been pitted against people like Moxley and Lance Archer. But this is where he does really well. He is a menacing, scary, mid-level character who performs that job exceedingly well. He is so good on the mic, but he is not, at least I've not been proven, that he is honestly the most technically gifted wrestler in the ring that AEW has. They can find a spot for him. I want them to. It's just, I think this was the first match where we had him playing himself thematically correct. He was intimidating. He was scary. He was ruthless. And he beat down his opponent and took the victory over Aaron Solo. This match ended, once again, with a 7.6. Good use of the character. Good intentional action. For match number 9, we have Casey Navarro versus Ricky Starks. This is an instant squish. Ricky Starks jumps on him immediately and pins him practically in the corner, almost. This is a little disappointing for me. And also not the most sensical, considering the night of squishes. We've had several squishes tonight, and still some upcoming, of much larger men versus smaller men who take longer than this. Casey Navarro is of a similar size to Ricky Starks, and yet this is by far the most demonstrative squish the entire night. And that just feels weird because Casey Navarro has been doing great. These last 4 weeks, he's consistently shown us new sides of his performance. From being able to tag team, do solo work well, be heard, leave an impression on the audience. This guy has something about him. I'm not quite sure what it is, but he's got something. And it just felt a little disappointing to see him go down that fucking fast.